Hello everybody, and today for our collective worship we're going to think about the faith, and I'm going to tell you a story about somebody from a long time ago. But first we're going to light the candles. So we shall carefully light them in the name of the Father, they will light, and the Son and the Holy Spirit. So there's our candles lit. And we'll say, Jesus Christ, the light of the world, a light no darkness can quench. And the man I'm going to talk about this morning, he was a light in a lot of people's lives. So, I wonder, have any of you heard of a man called William Wilberforce? He lived a very long time ago, and he changed the lives of millions of people. So this is the story of what happened. Nearly 500 years ago, in the 1560s, English business people started abducting, that's kidnapping or stealing, men, women and children from Africa. They treated them like luggage, and they took them to America in big ships to be sold as slaves. The businessmen made lots of money out of this, and they didn't care what the conditions were like on board the ships. And they were so terrible that about 15% of those people didn't even make it to America. They died on the voyages. These men didn't care about this. As long as they made a profit on their human cargo, it was all fine by them. Over the next 200 years, between 10 and 12 million Africans were abducted and transported. And even the church was involved, with some Christian leaders saying that the Bible supported the slave trade. They said it was good for the Africans to go to America. They called it being civilized. They said that the slaves would get their reward in heaven. But things began to change in about 1750 as more people in the church and outside it began to see how terrible the slave trade was, how unchristian and how evil it was. And in 1772, slavery was made illegal in England and Wales, and Scotland soon followed in 1778. But that didn't stop the businessmen who made the money from continuing the slave trade in America. Now, during that time, there was a man called William Wilberforce, and he was a member of Parliament. He was elected by the people of his hometown of Hull, that isn't that far from here. This was in 1780, and soon after that, he became a Christian. And then he met Thomas Clarkson, who was an abolitionist, someone who worked hard to abolish slavery. So he wasn't a Christian in his early life, but this was something that happened as an adult. And he had faith in all that he was told, and he had faith that he would be able to make a difference. Wilberforce was determined to put an end to slavery, but he knew it wouldn't be easy. He was right. For the next 18 years, he asked the House of Commons to abolish slavery. He just kept on asking and working for change, making speeches and talking to anyone who could help or who needed their mind changing. Perseverance is another word that comes to mind. He didn't give up. He knew what was right, and he was determined to do something about it. And eventually he did. On March the 25th, in 1807, an Act of Parliament was passed to abolish slavery and slave trading in the British Empire. He had won. But the story wasn't over yet. The change in the law did not free those who were already slaves. And it took until 1833 before an Act of Parliament was passed giving freedom to all the slaves in the British Empire. Wilberforce lived just long enough to see this happen. He had retired from politics and died shortly after the Act was passed. So, from this story we can learn that William Wilberforce made a big difference to the lives of many millions of people. And to do that, he needed to have the trust in God, and he had to know that God was with him as he made these plans. Could you imagine being taken from your home across the sea, and not on a nice cruise or in a nice boat, but just like luggage piled up on the boats? It must have been horrible for those people. And then when you got to America, if you made it, you were sold as a slave and you didn't get any wages. You just worked all the time and hopefully were given some food. Some of them will have had kind people that they worked for, but others wouldn't. And this was millions of people that this was being the life for. So not nice at all. But thanks to William Wilberforce and others, it won't happen to us. So do you think you could stand up for what you believe, like William Wilberforce did? Do you think you could make